Good evening. The September 18th, 2024 meeting of the San Mateo County Board of Education will come to order. As is our practice, this meeting will be recorded. The board provides remote access for members of the public and welcomes community members joining in person and remotely. The board is following the requirements of Assembly Bill 2449, which enables remote participation by board members only under specific circumstances. We use simultaneous interpretation in Spanish for those attending virtually through the end of public comment. Translation will continue further into the meeting if people are utilizing the channel. Thank you to our interpreters, Ana Cruz and Lucy Navarro, for joining us remotely. Our meeting attendees wishing to access the Spanish translation channel on Zoom, click on the interpretation button on the menu bar. We ask all speakers to be mindful of the Spanish interpretation and speak slowly and clearly. I ask board members to speak directly into the microphone and remind speakers wearing masks to please remove their masks when speaking in order to be clearly heard by all attendees. Item 1B is approval of our agenda. Is there a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Trustee Gerard and a second by Trustee Lempert. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. Motion passes by a vote of 6-0. Okay, item 2 is public comment. Guidelines for public comment are available on the SMCOE website and in board docs, as well as on the table outside the boardroom in both English and Spanish. If there are speakers who require Spanish interpretation, our interpreters, Ms. Cruz and Ms. Navarro, will interpret following each speaker's comments. At this time, members of the public may provide comment for topics not included on the approved agenda. The County Board of Education does not act upon any matter that has not been agendized except under limited circumstances as permitted by law. It is the policy of the County Board to refer matters raised in this forum to the superintendent for investigation and/or action where appropriate. Superintendent McGee, do we have any comments submitted prior to tonight's meeting?
We did not.
Okay, thank you. Speakers are invited to make a live comment and have 3 minutes to speak. The board's executive assistant, Jennifer Perna, will keep the time and advise when the speaker has 30 seconds left. Please keep within the time limit. To make a comment over Zoom, members of the public may use the raised hand feature. Instructions for using this feature are provided as an attachment in the board packet. Once the hand is raised, please wait to be acknowledged by Superintendent McGee. Are there any members of the public attending remotely who wish to make a comment at this time? Superintendent McGee.
We have 2 hands up and we'll recognize Christian Morales as our first speaker. Christian.
Hello, good evening. Christian Morales, Vice President of CSCA Chapter 887. I'm just here this evening with some brief updates from our union. On July 20th, 2024, the CSCA Board of Directors approved the merger of Chapter 789 into Chapter 887. President Lori Mouton and President Robert Fuertes are now in the process of putting in place a new governance structure, which will reflect substantial continuity in representation for all our members from both of the formerly separate chapters. Also, Chapter 887 is in the middle of its county board endorsement process. We are looking to endorse one or more of the County Board of Education candidates currently seeking to be elected into the San Mateo County Board of Education at the upcoming November 2024 elections. We have been holding county board candidate forums this week with those who have answered our invitation. This event is open to our membership as an opportunity to hear directly from the candidates running for seats in trustee area 4, 5, and 6. and we hope to announce our final endorsements by the end of the month. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we have Janice Pellizzari. Janice?
Good evening, Board President Benini, trustees, and Ms. Superintendent McGee. Sorry about that. I want to say good evening. The event today was very nice, so thank you for that. It seems like everybody had a nice time being there. Ms. Gerard, thank you for showing up and supporting, representing the board. I want to start off with, I want to thank our school leaders, Jesus and Laura. They've been doing a remarkable job in our uncertain work at Gateway. We are still moving forward, but we have a long ways to go. I think CTE, I know people are hearing different things about CTE. It is a work in progress. I think it's going to be very beneficial for the kids in the long run once we get going on it. And I'm hoping I could shut down naysayers because everybody is trying really hard at Gateway to make it right for kids, even through the uncertain times. So I just have to say thank you for the support we're getting from 101 and Laura and Jesus. You guys have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you, Janice. Members of the public may also provide live comment in person. Superintendent McGee, are there any submitted cards?
No.
Thank you. Public comment addressing a specific agenda item will be heard after the board's questions, comments, and discussion on the item. If members of the public wish to speak to a specific agenda item, please use the raised hand feature when the item is announced, or if you are in person, please submit a card. Item 3A is introduction of Marcella Miranda, who was recently promoted to Executive Director, College, Career, and Community Partnerships, Educational Services Division. Executive Director Miranda.
Good evening, Board President Bonini, members of the board, and Superintendent McGee. I am deeply grateful and honored to step into the role of Executive Director of College, Career, and Community Partnerships. This promotion marks an exciting new chapter in my journey with the San Mateo County Office of Education, and I am eager to build on the impactful work I've had the privilege of leading in my previous role. As Director of Community Partnerships, I worked closely with school districts to support their grassroots efforts in creating transformational change. It wasn't just about providing technical assistance. It was about building strong relationships and helping districts dream big about how they could better support their students and families. One of the most rewarding parts of that role was working on the Community Schools Grant, which provided vital resources to districts as they developed the community schools approach. This work was recently featured in the San Mateo County Office of Education Spotlight, and it was incredible to see the dedication of the district coordinators recognized for their efforts. I am immensely proud of the impact we've made together. Now, in my new role, I am excited to expand that impact by focusing on college, career, and community partnerships. I strongly believe that students should not have to choose college or career. They deserve access to both, with pathways that allow them to explore their talents and interests without limitations. This approach is about creating opportunities, opening doors, and ensuring that every student can see themselves in a future that includes both academic success and career readiness. By strengthening K-12 vertical alignment, we can support students from their earliest years through to college and career pathways, providing them with the tools they need to thrive. Looking ahead, my goal is to continue fostering a vision where no student is left without options and every district feels supported in making these pathways a reality. I'm incredibly grateful to the county office for trusting me with this opportunity. Together, we can ensure that every student's potential is unlocked and that we pave the way for their success. Thank you for this incredible opportunity.
Thank you. Congratulations. Okay, item 3B is the introduction of Marco Sanchez, who has recently promoted to Supervisor, Information Systems, District Business Services Division. Supervisor Sanchez.
Thank you. Mouthful, right? Good evening, Board President Bonini, members of the board, and Superintendent McGee, guests and audience members. My name is Marco Sanchez, and I am honored to be invited to present myself as the new Supervisor of Information System with the District Business Services Division. I'm a proud product of the San Francisco Unified School District and parents who immigrated from South America in the early 1970s, Peru and Colombia. Currently, my wife and I are residents of San Mateo and have two daughters who attended the San Mateo Foster City School District and the San Mateo Union High School District, who have graduated and now attending College of San Mateo and San Francisco State University. I previously served as a financial analyst with San Mateo County Office of Ed with the payroll and retirement audit team for the last 7 months, with a wonderful group who are responsible for making sure payroll and retirement are processed and reported on time and accurately. Prior to coming back to San Mateo County Office of Ed, I spent mostly my career with San Francisco Unified School District, working in the IT and business services department since 2002. I started as an assistant business analyst to be part of a financial system upgrade and continue to move up to a senior business analyst role supporting the business services department as a functional and technical resource. Having earned my bachelor's from San Jose State University in business and administration with a concentration in management information systems, and then earning my MBA from Notre Dame de Namur here in Belmont, I was given the opportunity to be the coordinator of information systems here at San Mateo County Office of Ed in 2015. During my time here, I was part of the payroll upgrade with our CECC partner and gained a whole new insight into how a county office of education operates, as my only experience has been with San Francisco Unified School District. That chapter only lasted 2 years and was given the opportunity to return to San Francisco Unified School District to be their Director of Business Services and Support. My 7 years as a director brought many challenges and opportunities that enable me to support the finance and payroll departments and be a part of the all infamous information system implementation that was in the news. Even though I have had many successful system upgrades and implementations in my career, it is always the failed ones that we learn the most from. Having that experience provides me with the knowledge to continue providing support and guidance to new implementations that are presented. I'm happy to be back at San Mateo County Office of Ed and had the chance to work under Faith Marty Kroger again. And now looking forward to working with Danya Uni in this new position. The focus of this position is to prepare San Mateo County Office of Education and its county school districts ready to use our new enterprise information system. I hope to provide the needed guidance and knowledge to bring San Mateo County Office of Ed success in implementing the new enterprise information system and provide continued support for our office and school districts with my new team. I appreciate your time and the opportunity to introduce me. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, for item 4A, is there a motion to approve the minutes of the September 4th, 2024 regular board meeting as presented?
So moved. Second.
A motion by trustee Gerard and a second by trustee Cannon. Is there any discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say no. Motion passes with a vote of 6-0. And the minutes of the September 4th, 2024 regular board meeting have been approved. Item 5 is our consent agenda. The consent agenda is not debatable and requires a unanimous vote for passage. An item may be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular order of business for separate discussion and action if any board member, the superintendent, or the public requests. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved. Second.
There's a motion by trustee Alvaro and a second by trustee Gerard. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say no. The motion passes with a vote of 6-0 and the consent agenda has been approved. For item 6A, Chris Schaus, Associate Superintendent, Educational Services Division, and Sarah Notch, Executive Director, Center for Access and Engagement, will provide a report on new 2024-2025 programming for our court and community schools. Associate Superintendent Schaus and Executive Director Notch.
Good evening, Board President Bonini, board members, Superintendent McGee. A pleasure to stand before you this evening. It's actually been a short 5 weeks of school. So kind of taking us back in time as to what we're going to look at in our journey this evening. We're going to take a look at a few things, but we're going to look at the programming attached to our social emotional learning pieces, environmental science, career technical education, designated ELD, and the arts, really with the goal of looking at how those are impacting our students and really moving the success needle for our college and career indicators as well. But we'd be remiss if we didn't also cover the journey of where we've been that have allowed us to get to the place of kind of anchoring our next steps in this year's work. So as you can see up there, we went through the process of going through our LCAP and our board study sessions, doing the surveys to really hear what was important to folks and what those next steps would be. And we went through that board approval on June 26. Fast forward, we're 5 weeks into the school year and our work's already begun at making sure that we're hitting some of those goals and those timelines within the LCAP, really in the accountability to our kids. In looking at some of those alignments, so tonight's board presentation will be aligned to that because I think it's also important to make sure that we continue to stay focused on where we're going and what we said we were going to do as an organization for our kids. So if we kind of take a look at the LCAP alignments and social emotional learning, again, you know, I think you'll be surprised at how far we've actually been in 5 weeks, but we've already looked at the implementation of ongoing SEL competency assessments. That actually is going to mirror with your last column. So in that metrics and actions column, the last 2 sections are the ones that we're really working heavily in. So supporting students and building and improving those social and those safe pro-social pieces. That actually has been done, as we indicated at the end of spring last year, by us looking at the master schedule and allotting time that's dedicated for social emotional function. So the 15 minutes of our school day starts together as a community. That's done in 2 different formats. At Hillcrest, we have 2 separate units, so those units need to stay separate as a result of other concerns. And then at Gateway, we do meet as a community. That means all staff and all students are meeting within those environments. And that work is really anchored to the idea of the 5 CASEL pieces related to their own social emotional learning around self-management, self-awareness. And that's really what we're looking for right now in this first semester is those 2 pieces of self-management and self-awareness as to how we show up. By doing that, you know, we've had staff work within our system to be able to provide different conversations. Right now, we're working through some of the restorative practices and circles that you set to help build a culture. And what our work will include is some accompaniments with the Big Life journals. So Big Life journals are independent journals that students can use for their own self-reflection. They're not used for every other student to be able to participate, but we do know that modalities of how people learn and how they may want to share their feelings may not also be open. So really the Big Life journals helps guide a process for students that they have an opportunity to be able to look at their growth mindset, how they talk about themselves. Many of our students have shown up in our system and not really felt the belonging or the identity seen. And this allows them to take a step back and be able to think about how we talk to ourselves is really how we're going to project into the world and how we show up. So those journals will help our students as we move forward. But again, those will be accompanied. We have not started those pieces, but they will be on the horizon to be able to help support that work as well. You'll see also at the bottom, the indicators of school-wide SEL there. The two marks that we're looking at and going after are the explicit SEL instruction. So are we actually in session and doing that as a call out? Or is it happening potentially within classrooms? We want both. We want integrated SEL, which we know that our teachers work through as well. But there also has to be a time and a call out for us to be able to work through that. And the other piece is youth voice and engagement. So those are two indicators by the Castle frameworks that looks at when you know that your school-wide SEL is working in the right way. It really is two of those primary pieces that we need to start to engage, and we've already started to move in that direction. You'll also notice as we've looked at some LCAP alignments within our academic expectations, the next two will be different goals that we take a look at. This one is goal 1, so looking at how we enhance and improve subject matter preparation, the instructional support, and academic achievement. The first and the last two sections of those LCAP pieces is what we were looking at in this first semester, which is increasing our A through G course class credit pieces. So what is in our UC portal, and are those approved for those A through G alignments? And we also are looking at that last column of the metric and actions too, which is how do we build capacity within dual certifications on the route to sustainability, and some of our teachers also being able to be able to provide those services to students. We currently have 2 teachers that have met the criteria for CTE credentials, so that is further along than we would have anticipated, and really some early adopters of what that may look like. The areas of CTE credentials criteria that has been met: health, science, and medical technology for one of our staff members, as well as marketing, sales, and service for that staff member. In addition, we also had another staff member that qualified in marketing, sales, and service as well, and also building trades. So it kind of gives us a nice platform to be able to have staff that the students are familiar with and that they know, also be able to receive credentials in those areas. In addition to that piece, the next piece is also anchored to college and career readiness. So our goal 3 was related to what are the opportunities and implementing targeted strategies. This one in the metrics and actions is looking at improving student engagement through a variety of instructional strategies and methodologies. And we're really looking at what is the industry relevant piece or the project-based learning piece that we can have our students move through in order to be able to support their learning in this area as well. So we have a design for credit accrual in this first semester. You're taking a look at 2 pieces. One, patient care. So this is one of the pieces allowed for our students to be able to be in A through G portal. So it is a D, which would be a biology or a life science equivalence. So we aren't removing that aspect of our students being able to have that as a standard met and UC compliant as well. This is put in a piece of the first semester, knowing that as we go through the second semester piece, we're going to be looking at an option with our curriculum and instruction folks that will look at a different potential curriculum, really in our route to get to a place of a full curriculum adoption cycle towards the end of spring this year. But we'll kind of keep the board updated as we go through the process of what we're finding and what that looks like when we're working with the data and the teachers within that. We also have entrepreneurship business math that does qualify as a C within the UC portal and is aligned to the mathematics standards. We do have Carnegie Math, which is our curriculum currently within the math course that is being used for students and integrated as relevant for the students that may be struggling with pieces or that we may need to be able to insert, as well as we look at that being a potential option. Taking a closer look at how or what is happening within those programming pieces, Patient Care 1 and Sports Med, that really looks at human anatomy, the cell and the tissue. So you're seeing the alignment there to biology and life science pieces. What is really the beauty of this piece too is that the course ends in a culmination of folks being able to really have industry certifications that make our students able to really leave Gateway or Hillcrest in a position to be a lifeguard, to be additional pieces that could lead to employment or career option pieces that may get them a start that other students don't necessarily have. And those are certifications within Red Cross First Aid, CPR. We do focus and will focus on both infant and adult in that sector. So you also have some child development things that could happen for students if they're interested in that route. The other piece that we're looking at within entrepreneurship for business math, it's aligned to Math 2. What we look at within that, and I think students in general, a lot of folks kind of reach that age and you want to be able to have more freedom and more opportunity for yourself to be able to earn and have some of those pieces of kind of growing up as we move through the system. This actually puts those in parameters that really is something that the state is highlighting in terms of what finance and what personal finance may look like for students. You look at market research, cost and benefit analysis, advertisement, operating costs, projections. It's very easy for us to say we want to operate a business or open a business, or I can just, and then kind of putting those things in perspective and reality for students is also something that's important. So Math 2 priority pieces are being hit through this entrepreneurship business math as well. So we'll have the opportunity to see a year's worth of completion. These are double block classes. So by doing those double blocks, our students actually have obtained a year of credit in both a lab science as well as math by moving through these. In partnership with our Project Change folks that have been so integral in our work, we have CSM that has just started this last week doing Keys to Success for us once again, which really focuses on that mentorship and the successful transition to college, and is also CSU and transferable credit. So we'll continue to work with that team. They've moved through a leadership exchange, but we've already met with their new leadership and are working on looking at what our student needs will be for the spring offering. So colleges work quicker in terms of their course catalogs. So we're already in conversations about what that might look like based on the students that we've now received in transcript renewal at this point of going through those. Another highlight, Golden State Pathways Program. The state actually issued grants. Grants were awarded, and then the state said, hang on one second, we're going to actually review all grants and bringing it to you tonight, because on the 20th, which is a few short days away, there is going to be word of what the outcome of all of those reviews were. That wasn't unique to us, but that is $400,000 that would be able to be used towards Hillcrest and Gateway. And that it's with the intent of running college pathways and CTE pathways planning grants that would be in combination with Skyline and CSM.
Good evening. Drawing your attention to the targeted supports in our LCAP, we specifically addressed improving outcomes for students identified as English learners in Goal 1. And you'll see in the metrics and actions captured there that some of our priority areas are increasing our reclassification percentages, reducing the achievement gap, and implementing targeted ELD instruction to address language acquisition needs. And we've started implementing on this goal with a designated English language development, or ELD period, at Gateway. So we have a section of designated ELD English. It's an integral part of a comprehensive program for every English learner to meet their linguistic needs and academic goals. And the instruction is provided at a designated time within the school day, focused on the state adopted ELD standards. And it assists learners, English learners, in the development of critical language acquisition skills that allow them to access content learning. And it's without being at the expense of some other programming options that we sometimes find are not available at comprehensive sites due to scheduling conflicts. We're really excited that it's an and not an or. Our designated ELD English class is also a component of Tier 1 instruction for all English learners and is a critical element within the MTSS, or Multi-Tiered System of Supports framework, and also incorporates the principles of Universal Design for Learning, or UDL, which provides for multiple means of engagement, representation, and action and expression, addressing the why, what, and how of learning. In partnership with our Coordinator of Environmental Literacy and Sustainability, and with support from our Superintendent's Office, we're excited about a weekly environmental science program It's provided through a fellow from Each Green Corner, which is a local nonprofit organization that works with many districts within our region. And in addition to the environmental science aspect, there's also a focus on addressing food insecurity and service projects within our community. Supported by Prop 28 funding, which is designed to supplement access to all 5 arts areas in schools. We're continuing our work in theater arts this fall. We are working with an artist who's experienced in secondary education in alternative settings. So he's been a great fit for us. So he'll finish up his theater arts residency in the fall. And in the spirit of making sure that we provide access to multiple arts areas, we're going to look at visual arts for the spring. We haven't identified an artist yet because we really want it to be driven collaboratively with the students and having them help us work on a project design so that we can then customize the artist that we work with based on what it is that they want to explore within the visual arts field. And we know from implementation and improvement science that this is an ongoing process that takes 3 to 5 years, which is great as our LCAP is a 3-year plan. So we should be able to see some really good improvements and movement within that process. But it is a process, and we are going to continue with the Gateway Design Series prototype implementation. So that's going to resume this fall, and the board will be informed as we continue to dive deeper into those 3 prototype areas. And with that, we're happy to take any questions you may have.
Thank you for the presentation. Are there any questions from the board? Trustee Torres?
Hi, I just have 2 questions in regard to ELD. So for the ELD instruction, are all teachers trained in ELD or just the one that is providing the instruction?
So we work through ELD strategies and integration of our classes, and we'll work on the pedagogy of those pieces, but formally, the ELD instructor that is teaching ELD is certified in that area.
And then second, which is the ELD curriculum that's being used, or is it just the strategies?
It's Study Sync, which has the module component of ELD, and that's our current adoption for English as well.
Awesome, thank you.
Are there any other questions? Trustee Gerard?
Ms. Gerard, sorry to interrupt,
Oh,
but yeah, your
Your
microphone.
microphone's-
Thank you.
Sorry about that. On the students that are enrolled in product change, and if they are going to one of the classes in the community college, are those students that we feel will be with us through the time period that it would take to complete the class? Or what happens if they are not with us and go elsewhere?
So that's a great question. It's actually something we've been working with Project Change staff on, and their instructors are very willing. So community colleges put together Project Change really with an emphasis on helping students no matter where they're at in the process. One of the things that we just worked through was that very issue at Hillcrest. So as students are released, will they still have access to be able to take that course? So right now we're working with our CSM folks, but it does look like the instructors are going to be able to continue that course outside of, they're going to give them a Zoom platform or an additional link piece for kids to be able to access the course so that they could finish that. So even if they're in kind of mid-cycle, we do want them to be able to be released, obviously. So as they're released, they are doing outreach and connection to make sure that students that want to continue that course still could do that, but in a safe way. That's probably through a Zoom link or something protected. So we are working with probation on that interface because our students would be an interface with others that now have left the program. So they're working on safe links and other pieces, but that is the option of what would happen in that case.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions from the board? Trustee Gerard?
So eventually, are we going to have all of our teachers up at Gateway trained in this program? Right now, there's 2. Or how many teachers do we have up there? I guess that's a better question. And will they all eventually be trained?
I'm going to make some assumption. I'm assuming that you're just discussing career technical education, so CTE credential pieces.
Yes.
So that really is something that is going to be up to teachers to decide. What we have done is those early pilot ones that were part of that 15-day cycle last year that had interest, they actually sought us out, which is why we're a little ahead of the game of making sure that we gave them a pathway to get there. But we are going to be having a kind of CTE 101 of how to get your credential if we have staff that are interested in exploring that as an option as well. But it won't be a requirement for the staff to have to be certified to teach that course.
Okay, thank you.
Trustee Alvaro.
Thank you. I'm curious about the arts programming. So fall and winter, you're going to do theater arts and then going into visual arts. It's great. Is there a thought of perhaps next year when you go into fall and winter doing like music education?
Yes, we definitely want to continue with semester-based exploration of all 5 arts areas. And we know that our students aren't with us usually for enough time to hit all 5. So they won't get exposure to every single one during their time with us, but we will be rotating through so that we have access points for all 5 over the course of the next couple of years.
Excellent. Yeah, because theater arts are wonderful and so are visual arts. And I'm a big fan of those, but there's something about music education that's just, it makes connections in the brain that are completely different. And I would be interested to have our kids explore that too. So thank you.
Of course.
I have one question. Are there any more questions from the board? So I'm trying to wrap my head around the CTE and the credentialing that happens. And my question maybe is 2 parts. One is, what are the underlying credentials that the teachers have as far as teaching that? And then I understand that we may not have teachers right now who are single subject certified in math and science. And so I'm just wondering how that integrates somewhat, what we're doing in that regard. And yeah, that's the question.
Sure. So alternative settings do also give us some flexibility within what those assignments are. So it generally isn't always subject specific. So we do have multiple subject teachers as well that are also teaching within our system. In terms of the CTE credentialing itself, it is almost like looking at, I'll use an equivalent or a parallel to make it the example, but if you had an English teacher that was certified and credentialed in English, they generally will have an addendum or a supplement to be able to do ELD as well. So their underlying one, if you will, is going to be the English one, but their ELD is their supplement. With CTE credentialing, you can actually go one way or the other. So this means that your dual credential, they are 2 different credentials. So you could get an industry sector person that is a welder that applies for their teaching credential underneath industry experience and their education pieces. That's monitored by a teaching and acting teacher to be able to also run that course. So CTE is a little bit of 2 different dynamics. You can have industry partners that can go into that space and qualify for a teaching credential, or you could have a teaching credential currently and be able to add a CTE credential in addition to. So our teachers are adding the additional CTE credential, but it is in and of itself, that would be the base of their credential if they're teaching, for instance, patient care. That is his base. So in that case, it would be the health, science, and technology one that he has qualified for.
Okay, thank you. And on the math front, I understand you're using the math curriculum. Is there anything within that math curriculum for the levels that the students are at in high school that would be that would be helpful to have? Math is very, it's different than a lot of other subjects. I even give flexibility with science, but not math for me.
Yeah, and I think with math, that has been historically something that we've been moving through. So we have had 1 class for math, which means that any student that's coming in actually is receiving historically math in the same setting. So there is still differentiation going on, which is kind of what you saw there in regards to, we can move this way and offer the standards through the CTE line and the entrepreneurship of that market analysis. But we may very well have kids within the same room that are working through Carnegie and the math piece that is easier for them to move through. So there has been always a piece within court and community that the teachers have flexibility to be able to differentiate that based on the student. But at this point, you know, kids are receiving math still in the same cycle of one setting, very similar to kind of our English and our ALD piece. So if we can get to a position of being able to break those apart by level, but right now what we do know is that the students that we are receiving, they have been deficient in credits for sure within science and math. And math too is going to end up being one of their last requirements as well. So this would qualify in this case, but there's always better energy in regards to getting closer to those specific pieces. But really with the population, the size that we have, the differentiation function right now is happening in the classrooms as a given.
Okay, so you noted that there's a flexibility in our setting. But in the past, when we've seen reports about the credentialing and whether teachers or classes are being staffed with proper credentialing, we've had in our reports showing we have certain classes that, you know, are out of credential requirements. So this is like aside from that, it doesn't count in that regard. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Correct, because the class that you're seeing is actually governed by a credential that that person has. So in this case, it's an entrepreneurship class that you're seeing within math, and that person is qualified by that criteria, so they are able to teach that.
Thank you
Yep.
for the many answers. Okay, are there any other questions from the board? Okay, are there any comments from the public?
We do have one speaker, Joanna Rasmussen. Ms. Rasmussen, you're free to speak.
Thank you so much. My name is Johanna Rasmussen, and I'm the chair of the San Mateo County Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention Commission. And I just had a couple questions regarding the math and science. It was my understanding that we had a teacher resign, a credentialed math and science teacher resign in August, and they were allocated in the budget as a math and science teacher, and that teacher has not been replaced. And so our students are actually receiving elective credits for math and not math and science credits. So I was hoping to get clarification on that. And I was also informed that the CTE courses of business math and patient health, that those don't count as core courses because the teacher, it doesn't have an approved credential. Could you please clarify that for us, please?
So can I step in? Sorry, I know we've asked a number of questions, and then I would like to refer that question to Superintendent McGee to follow up on the staff, and at your pleasure if you think that can be answered now or if it requires a later.
We can, I
question.
think, respond to that now, right? I mean,
So one of the pieces that I won't address publicly is a personnel issue. So I think the board respects the fact that there is a boundary within regard to that. The other piece that I will say is that I think there's a misunderstanding of what our CT credentials actually allow us to do. So in fact, our teachers have met the criteria to be able to teach the classes that are currently being taught.
they're earning credit.
That is accurate. This is not elective credit. They are earning credit within science and math as it sits within the UC portal that's been approved.
Yeah. But we can follow up with more information.
Thank you. Are there any other public comments?
I don't believe so.
Okay, thank you. There is no action to take on this item. Thank you again.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Item 7A is superintendent's comments. Superintendent McGee, do you have any comments to share?
I have a few comments to share and some items to share with the board, physical items for you. I was happy to attend the county boards conference Friday, Saturday, and Sunday in Monterey. I attended a really interesting session on charter schools and came back with some ideas about how our team can organize the way we track charter school renewals in our county, so that was beneficial to me. I enjoyed sitting in on the shared governance session that Trustee Gerard sat on. And again, thought it was a good session and verified and clarified things that I feel like I know, but it was good still. And then our team from the county office, Chad Slife and Maria Vlahiotis, came down and presented a really great session on the science of reading. And it was well attended and there was good conversation. And I think lots of people across the state are really engaged in this work. So reading instruction is really under an evolution of change in the state. I left Monterey on Sunday and drove over to Madera County for the California County Superintendent's meetings. I was there Sunday evening, Monday, Tuesday, and just drove back this morning. The California County Superintendents are keeping their 3 key priorities from last year. So they're not changing their priorities. The 3 priorities they're focused on, we are focused on, is building a diverse workforce, supporting students who are multilingual and students with disabilities, and supporting whole child outcomes. I actually sit, I think I've mentioned this before, on the Students with Disabilities Advisory Group of the county superintendents. And this meeting, we were fortunate to be introduced to the chairs of SECO, which is the Special Education Administrators of County Offices. And our very own Sarah Notch is the chair this year. So she met with the county superintendents in this advisory and talked a lot about the curriculum work that's going on in our own programs in special education and how that lines up to the alternate pathway work that's happening across the state. So Sarah, really nice representation, and was proud to have you in the room, so to speak, with us. Today came back for the 2024 staff recognition event. As usual, it was full of fun and vigor and lots of games and engagement. Some folks left with gift cards in their pockets, and other people left with a song in their heart. People sang songs, played instruments, danced, showcased their painting, their photography, their crafts work. And our core cabinet presented themselves as a cast of Broadway musical characters. So we had fun, but we missed you. And we gave the service pins out today, and 4 of you are earning service pins tonight. Trustee Benini, you're getting your first service pin. So see how many you can line up on your lapel by the end. So you will receive a service pin for completing 1 term, which is 4 years, obviously. And then we have Mr. Torres also receiving a service pin. When you assume a term, you get credit for the whole thing. So your pin gets to jump ahead. So you get a pin tonight. And then Mr. Cannon receiving a pin for 4 terms of service. No, is that right? 4 terms of service. 16 years, is that right? Or is it 5? 5 terms of service, 20 years. I'm just getting confused because you're so high up on the and your pin has many gemstones. And Mr. Lempert, 6 terms, is that right? 6 terms, 24 years of service on the board, and Mr. Cannon, 5 terms, 20 years of service. So tonight, it's really special to give you your pins, and they're quite beautiful, and I hope that you appreciate them. I'm going to bring them over right now. I have one more thing to add to my comments, and that is that while we do give gift cards out at our recognition event, Deputy Superintendent Boltema wants me to make it very clear that these are donations by our managers and the core cabinet, and no SMCOE funds were used to purchase any gift cards that went out to staff today. It's all the generosity of our teams and our staff to help recognize and celebrate our folks. So it was fun time, and that concludes my comments.
Thank you. All right, for item 8A, Superintendent McGee will provide information on an item brought forward for board consideration. Superintendent McGee?
I'm not sure if Deputy Attorney Cho is better prepared to provide the intro for this one.
Sure, happy to
Okay.
do that.
Thank you.
So whenever a candidate is running for an elected seat and wishes to submit a candidate statement for printing in the voter information guide that gets mailed out to all of the constituents in our county, they must pay in advance estimated cost to the elections office. Now that fee is an estimate, and after the election is concluded, the elections office does prorate the cost of the printing, the handling, translation, and mailing of those voter pamphlets among all of the candidates who did submit that statement. And so a candidate might be assessed a higher fee or a lower fee depending on how many statements were submitted. This is a candidate who's, I can actually state her name. Her name is Esther Adut. She is running for trustee area 6 in this upcoming November election. She has filed what is called an indigency application, where she is requesting consideration by this board for relief from the requirement to have to pay in advance that estimated cost for printing the candidate statement. Now, this does not mean that she would be exempted from paying the fee altogether. All it means is that she would not have to pay the fee in advance. If she were to submit a candidate statement, she would be assessed after the election for a pro rata share of the cost of printing that voter pamphlet. This is a very interesting type of application. I don't think they come up very frequently. It is brought under Elections Code 13309. And although it is the elections office that collects and assesses these fees, interestingly, it's the Board of Education, the local agency to whom this person wishes to be elected, that makes the decision as to whether or not such relief should be granted. So she has filed what is called an indigent application. She has submitted a statement of her financial worth. We have, those are private documents, so we have not attached them here. But one thing for the board to consider is whether or not this individual is what we would call indigent. And interestingly, the elections code does not provide us with any helpful definition on the legal qualifications of what is indigency. So what local boards typically will do is they will take a look at the Judicial Council recommendations. There is a table that is created for folks who are wishing to file a lawsuit and want to be relieved of having to pay court fees. There is actually an income table that the Judicial Council prints. And so I've provided a copy of that just for the board to take a look at to determine whether or not this individual's monthly income falls above or below that standard in order to help make a determination as to whether or not this indigency application should be granted. So do we have any questions as to how this works?
Thank you.
Yes.
Trustee Alfaro?
We have had this happen once before, and it was when I was running, but that was a whole other animal when we went through it. I looked through the statement and that you provided to us. Thank you. And I have questions. I mean, there's no, that I can find, there's no proof of any of it. There's no W-2, there's nothing. When this happened before, as I recall, we were provided, actual numbers. There was like, this is where this account is, and things were pretty clear. I don't see much of what I'm looking for here. I'm seeing, well, this is what I think I earn. I'm not accusing anyone of lying. I'm just saying that we don't have information that I feel like we could make a decision on this thing. Is there something I'm missing?
No, so my understanding is that this applicant did provide a release to the elections office to share her federal income taxes for the last 2 years. And for whatever reason, that documentation has not been received by the elections office. I did confirm with them that they do not have those tax records. And typically those would have been provided and shared with the board for consideration. So we do not have the tax records.
Okay, so then the other half of my question would be, do we need to make this decision tonight?
The request from the elections office is yes, that the action be taken by the board because they are on a tight schedule to be printing and
Yeah, I
distributing the
underst-
candidate
I do
statements.
understand what where they're going. Okay, I'll defer my comments for a few minutes, but thank you for answering my question.
Of course.
Are there any other questions? Trustee Cannon.
Well, Lisa, I don't understand. All we would be doing if we were to approve the application is deferring the payment.
That's correct.
And if someone didn't pay that eventually, whose responsibility is that?
That's a good question. It is a fee that is assessed by the elections office. I would imagine that they have avenues to
Oh.
collect those fees. Yeah, it is not the Board of Education that
Right.
has to cover. Yeah. So that's an interesting question. Yeah.
When this came up before, what we were told was that we would be responsible. Not
The
the
board.
board, but the office. I don't know what's true.
Yeah, in all of my, I've looked into this question quite a bit before tonight, and it's my understanding that it's the elections office who then would have to go and seek that payment. As far as what enforcement mechanism they have to do that, I'm not 100% clear. But you're right, Trustee Cannon, that this is not a waiver of the fee. It's just a deferral until such time as the elections office knows the true cost of printing and mailing those statements out. And it could actually be higher than the current estimate, and that candidate could get assessed higher than what she thinks she needs to pay now.
Well, just, if you don't mind, that sum seemed remarkably low to me in comparison to what I vaguely remember, how much those things cost, which I just kind of gasped at the cost of those.
Right.
What was it, a couple of $1,000 estimate this time?
This applicant is stating that she's been requested to pay $2,000 in advance.
Trustee Cannon, it's
Mhm.
because we're by areas now, by
Oh,
districts.
right,
So it would be like five
Yeah,
times,
yeah.
at least five
Got it.
times,
Thank you.
6 or 7 times more if it was countywide.
So, I mean, if this application were to be denied, then this candidate would either have the choice of paying the estimated fee in advance and proceeding forward. She could also choose to withdraw the candidate statement and run without one. That's kind of up to the candidate.
Are there any other questions?
Just to clarify, and maybe Ms. Alvaro can help me with this one because she was on the board when this happened before. The last time it was asking us to pay the fee, am I correct?
That was my understanding that it would be a deferred fee on that candidate's behalf, but should he not have paid it, the elections office was pretty clear that they would come to the county office to pay it. But that's not the information that council got this year, so I don't know the answer to that.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions from the board? Okay, seeing none. Are there any comments from the public on this item, Superintendent McGee?
No comments.
Is there a motion on this item?
I move to deny the request.
Excuse me.
I move to deny the request.
Thank you, trustee. Is
I
there-
second.
There's a motion by trustee Limpert to deny the request and a second by trustee Alvaro. Is there any further discussion?
Yeah, I wonder if,
Trustee Cannon?
provide a comment as to why you want to deny? Why would you deny?
Trustee Cannon's asking for
Yeah, why would you?
maybe some clarification or just some reasoning.
Yeah, I mean, we were on the board too, so okay.
Would you like my recommendation? I'm concerned about the lack of financial documentation with this application, to be quite honest with you.
So in terms of our motion, should we say that's what we find? Or should we stay quiet on it?
As far as reasoning, I think, there can be discussion around what are the concerns with this application, and then you take that motion. I don't, and then afterwards, the county office would need to send out a notice both to the applicant and to the elections office notifying of the decision. But the code does not require reasoning for that. But I think because this is an open session discussion, if the candidate were to be curious, she could come back and take a look.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay. Is there any other discussion? Okay, there's a motion on the table. All those in favor, say aye
In favor?
Aye.
Aye.
of denying the motion. Aye. All those opposed, say no. Okay, the motion passes with a vote of 6-0, and the board has voted to deny the request.
Thank you. So we'll work to send out those notices both to the candidate and to elections. Thank you.
Thank you for your help with that. Okay. For item 8B, when an ad hoc committee of the board or subcommittee meets or a representative attends a meeting related to an assignment, board members may choose to bring a report to the board. And this item is intended for that. Would any board members like to report out on a committee or a liaison position? I will just report that we had an initial meeting of the San Mateo County School Boards Association and just mapped out the events for the year. So if you haven't received emails about that from Sophia Lane, who's the new president, you should be receiving those soon. So I hope you'll be able to log them in your calendar, and there'll be more information coming. Okay, there's no action to take on this item. For item 8C, the board will discuss topics for future board agendas. Would any board members like to discuss agenda ideas? Okay, I just have one. I would like to request an agenda item on our districts or our county offices, cell phone policies and how they're being implemented at Gateway for the 24-25 school year in light of the guidance from the state of late and also the board's prior positions taken on social media impacts on students. There's any consensus around that? Okay, that's my request. Are there any others? Okay, seeing none, there is no action to take on this item. And item 8D is board members will comment. Trustee Alvaro, would you like to start us off?
I really don't have a lot of comments. I want to congratulate everybody who was recognized today at the employee recognition, including you, I don't know if it's ever possible, but it's very difficult for me to get over here on a day where we have a board meeting. So if it were ever to be on a day we didn't have a board meeting, I would be much more likely to be able to come. So that's just all. But so my apologies to those, and thank you for that clarification, Mr. Baltimore, because yes, it is very important that we know that isn't public funds being used. But congratulations to everybody. And I did look down the list and saw the retirees and saw people being honored and just felt prouder and prouder and prouder and prouder of our staff as I continued to read. So thank you for continuing to do that. And I'm glad it was a good day.
Thank you. Trustee Limpert.
Just in the theme of the pins and warts, thank you. I would have loved to have been there in person. I was on a plane coming back here, but it means a lot and I appreciate it. This was better than the last one. So thank you.
Trustee Cannon.
Thanks for the recognition, Superintendent McGee and your council for participating so nicely in all of this. And that's all I really have to say. Thanks.
Thank you. Trustee Gerard.
Yes, thank you. I also attended the event today. I represented the board, and I loved it. It was really fun, and everyone had a wonderful time. We have very talented people in our county office, and I loved the costumes. They were outstanding for Broadway, every one of them. And they went above and beyond. I was very impressed. So I hope you'll show the board some pictures because they were great. They really were. And I'm just, it was wonderful to be able to celebrate all of the employees today that were recognized and received pens and awards and just congratulations on retirement and all of those things. And John was 35 years from our Court and Community School. So pretty proud of that, pretty proud of that. And so he actually was really excited. He was very excited about receiving a pen for that. So it was wonderful. I also attended along with Superintendent McGee and Mr. Torres and Mr. Camacho, the conference this past weekend. And I have a lot of comments, but I won't make them all. However, I will say that there were some excellent sessions that were put on. And I was very, very pleased and very honored to be part of our San Mateo County Office of Education Science of Reading. I wasn't an expert. I was just kind of the board member there, but it was really fun to participate. And it was great to see what a beautiful job both Maria and Chad did explaining something that really is very complicated, but in a way that all of the people attending the session could understand. And it definitely got the point across, and they had lots of excellent questions and conversations. So I was very happy to do that. And I was also very pleased to be able to participate in the shared governance session. And I was really excited. We had 36 people attend our session and not one person got up and left. And for one of the sessions, that's a big deal. So we were very pleased with how it went. And here's what I will say that is not positive, and that is that it just did not feel like a California County School Boards Association conference. And I think just about every single person there felt that way. It felt like a mini CSBA AEC. And that's so sad because that warm camaraderie that we've had for the 30 plus years that I've been attending just wasn't there. And none of the county board members were the ones that were up on the podiums. It was all CSBA people. And I'm not the only one that felt that way. I think the majority of the county board members that have experienced the conference previous to this one felt the same way. So we'll see. I have a lot to report that's coming up, lots of exciting things that are happening out there. And I will say that it looks like, and I can say it now because it's out there, that we're in the process of trying to establish an association of California counties boards of education. And we've done a lot of work and spent a lot of hours. So I'll keep you posted. Thank you.
Thank you.
And congratulations to all I already congratulated you. You don't know it, but today at the thing. So I'll congratulate all of you again on your pens. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Trustee Torres?
Thank you. I was also able to attend that CSBA conference. And I agree, there were a lot of great workshops, which is terrible because then I have to choose between which one I go to. But all very great. I also echoed Trustee Gerard's comments on this conference feeling different. Having attended my first one last year in comparison to this year, yeah, it was noted that there was a difference. And then thank you for my pin. I was not expecting one. I feel like I cheated, but I don't feel bad enough to not say no. So thank you.
Thank you. I just have a couple of comments. I wanted to note a couple of items that I'm appreciative of the board approving and superintendent approving on our consent agenda. Well, all of them, but I'm just going to call out our joint resolution recognizing October 2024 as National Dyslexia Awareness Month. We added that one. It might have been on prior ones, but we really called it out last year, and it kind of led into the discussions around the science of reading. And we had Decoding Dyslexia California representative here. So it's really exciting to see that here again. And even though we didn't make a big to-do about it, it's here. And then the other one I had requested, which was the National Disability Employment Awareness Month, which is also really important in terms of parity of pay and all things that go on in our county around employing persons with disabilities. So I appreciate the approval of those two items. And I wanted to congratulate the staff members who were promoted, who were introduced this evening. That was exciting to hear about their new positions. And that's all for me for comments. Our next regular meeting will take place on Wednesday, October 9th, 2024. And this item is our adjournment. So this meeting is adjourned.